here in the United States. Today, when we're recording this, is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. And we include, mothers we think about, adopted mothers, stepmothers, spiritual mothers, those that have come alongside children and helped to raise them up in any way at all. We love you. Thank you for what you've been doing. And there are some things that I think are maybe not exclusive to mothers, but there are things that mothers really excel at that other people might not. Like there's something about the way a mom says things, that when a mom raises her voice just a little bit or just a little bit of intonation, that everybody in the room knows to pay attention. Mothers can multitask like nobody else. Cooking at the same time, with the other hand cleaning, while one ear is listening to a child give their account of the day, and their voice is helping with homework in the other room. And somehow in the midst of that, they're still giving directions to their husband and sending a text to a friend. And they have all these things going on at the same time. I don't know how you do it. I think part of the things that mothers do really well, like those kinds of things, comes from the fact that they have this sense of responsibility. Maybe you felt that before, that you feel responsible for something or for someone, and because you care about that responsibility, you just push a little bit of extra effort in. You put a little bit more energy, a little bit more focus into what you're doing. And for you all, you really love those children. You really care about what happens to them and raising them up. And so it does something to you. And some of you wonder, if you don't teach them what right and wrong is, what's going to happen to their lives? If you don't help build not just their athletic skills or their musical skills, but their character, what is their life going to be like? If you can work to keep the ER visits to a minimum while you let them go explore. You have to feed them and hydrate them so they'll keep surviving. You have to transport them everywhere because you want them to be well-rounded. So you have all these experiences and all these opportunities that you want to give to them, maybe even ones you didn't have for yourself. And you've got to provide for the home. You've got to provide them time in nature. You have to help them grow. You have to help them study and make it through school. You want them to have friends, and you want them to have family, and you want them to have both of those. And sometimes that means that you have to be a little bit concerned about some of the choices that they're going to make. About whether the vape really does smell as good as it seems. How they're going to view the world or look for truth. What's it going to be like when they start dating and thinking about who they want to spend their lives with? Or what they want to do with their life. And they have this dream that sounds great, but you know you probably aren't going to ever be able to afford a home or a family if you try and do that. So maybe there's something else instead. And you wonder, how do I fit all that stuff together? What is my responsibility here? And because you carry that with you, I am convinced that while you are not the only people in the world that do this, that moms excel at worrying. Which is what it is, but you are not alone in this. I think this is something that as a society we are just really good at right now. Since people started recording anxiety levels, we live in the most anxious time. Part of that is how unsettled everything feels right now. Everything seems like it's shaking, like it's upside down. Like we literally don't know which way to go or what way is up or down sometimes. And how do you keep up with everything that is coming at such a fast, rapid pace that sometimes you don't even know if it's true or not before you have to react to it? Whether there are issues facing our country, whether it's figuring out what is real, whether it's worrying about how you're going to afford the things that you know you need. We just get caught up worrying. This worry applies to even figuring things out about ourselves. Well, maybe not so much for mothers as much anymore, but maybe. But I think especially people that are a little bit younger, who am I is a huge question we worry about. Am I going to figure out who I am? Am I ever going to know what I'm supposed to do? Before, all those things were almost handed to us. You're going to follow in the family business. You're going to all live close together, so you're going to know each other, know everybody else, and you're going to think kind of the same things, and you're going to live kind of the same way, and you're going to have this identity and this purpose wrapped up right here for you to take. And now we live in a time where we are overwhelmed by choices. I mean, there are literally 90 different types of jelly on the grocery shelves, not to mention how many different choices you and I have for where we're going to live, how we're going to live, what career we want to take, what kind of family we want to have, what kind of house we want to live in, what kind of car we want to drive. And we get bombarded with all these choices that can overload us. And we lose sight of, why am I here? What is essentially true about me, about us, about this world that we live in? And when we don't have answers, we worry. We worry to ease our fears. We worry because our brain is wired to solve problems. And not knowing something is a problem. And so we work to try and figure our way through things in advance. All of the negative possibilities that we can think of, and we got great imaginations, we have to figure out how we're going to get through it, or at least what it's going to be like when everything goes bad. And we will spend our time and our energy and our thoughts on worrying. Worrying about things that ultimately may not happen. Worrying about things that ultimately we cannot control. And it messes with us in ways we probably don't like. And while worry is high right now, it's not a new thing. It's something that Jesus speaks about. When he's gathered thousands around him to share his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus begins to work through what a way of life following him should look like. He starts talking about what things fit in and what things need to be left out. And worry is on one of those lists. So here's what he says. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They don't labor or spin, yet I tell you that even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown in the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Do not worry. Sounds great, but we know who we are as human beings, and we're not worrying when we don't have answers, when the future is uncertain and things seem unsettled, is not the easiest thing to do. And so we want to find, where are the exceptions? Where's the wiggle room? So I'll trust this to you, God, but maybe this I can still worry about, right? And he goes down the list. So don't worry about your life. Your life is more than the sum of its parts a lot of times. A life is defined by everything that makes you, you. It is the gift of who you are. It's your identity. It's your purpose. It's your future. So it answers questions like, who am I, and what do I do, and what if, what's waiting for me? There are these big questions that we ask about ourselves that define our lives and the lives of those we care about. Because this is the thing, we don't just worry about ourselves, we worry about others too. And most of my counseling time really deals with this piece of it. People who are worrying about their life and these big questions. Who am I? What do I do? What's the future hold? I remember once I was talking with someone who was coming. They were reaching into a new stage in life, and they were really worried about if they were going to be able to make the transition into this next stage of their life, because they were carrying so much with them from before that they didn't know what to do with. They were abused several different ways as a child. And as they looked ahead to the future, they had questions about that. Like, they were worried, would they always be broken because of what had happened to them before? They were worried, what if I become the abuser? Because that seems to be the pattern for a lot of people that are abused. They then pass on that abuse to someone else. They were worried that, is there anything good that could come out of them, someone so damaged? They were worrying about their life. Jesus says, don't worry about those things. And don't worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink. In other words, don't worry about the essentials for survival, because, let's be honest, knowing who you are and what you're supposed to do is great, but if you can't keep yourself alive to do those things, then it doesn't really matter, right? So there are some things that are essential for us to survive. Go watch a Bear Grylls episode. You'll find out what those are. This past week, I was coming by the church and I stopped because there's a guy on the front porch that looked like he was camping out pretty well. Had his shirt off, was sitting there, had some music playing on some speakers, and went over to see what was going on. This is a guy who had just left his housing situation behind, but it was a housing situation where he was living someplace with no power, no running water. He needed a job. He wasn't able to work right now. And his friends, who he just left, he knew were getting ready to go to jail, which is one of the reasons why he wanted to get out of there. And he had so many things to worry about in the life category, right? But none of those things would matter if he hadn't stopped here, because what he needed most in that moment was a drink. He was so dehydrated that he was just needing to get some water out of the spigot, and he was drinking some, but he didn't have anything to carry it in. So before we could talk about anything else, I needed to find him a cup. And Jesus says, don't worry about the essential things you need to survive. In fact, don't worry about your body and what you're going to wear. Now, for clothing for them and for us kind of serve similar purposes. On one hand, it's for protection, and on the other hand, it's for status. It shows we're effective about things, right? So clothes protect us from the elements. When it's windy out, we've got to put something on. When it's raining out, we put something on. When it's cold out, we put something that's going to keep us warm and hopefully make us look kind of good. Right now, a lot of times, even though it's getting warmer, I'm going to wear longer sleeves and pants because I'm trying to protect myself from one of the biggest dangers in my area, mosquitoes. But clothing also communicates to other people about how they can treat you. If you belong to a certain group, you dress a certain way. I see this. I drop my kids off at school. I can kind of tell who's in what clique by how they dress, because there's one group in particular of some, I think they're middle school girls. They are showing up out of multiple vehicles wearing the identical shoes, the identical shirts, the identical jackets, identical backpacks, all together going in. That their clothing is saying, we fit here. Sometimes the clothing we wear shows our success. We want people to show, no, we are successful. We can be effective in the things of life. Graduation gowns do that. Doctor's scrubs do that. A business suit does this. And sometimes we do things because we just want to be respected, and we'll wear certain designers or the certain shape or cut of clothing is on us in order to communicate that this is the status level that you should treat us at. It says something about how we want to relate to other people and how we want to control them, at least how they view us. And Jesus says, don't worry about that. Don't worry about protection. Don't worry about status. Don't worry about other people thinking about you. I mean, that covers just about all of it, right? And even if Jesus said you could worry about those things and a bunch of other stuff, why would you? Can you add 1 hour to your life by worrying? It's a rhetorical question. The answer he wants us to all realize is no. We worry because we're thinking we're going to make our lives better. We're trying to solve these unanswerable questions, but they really aren't helping us at all. The truth is, our worry is messing with us and with our health. Those who suffer from worry tend to suffer from dry mouth, dizziness, changes in heart rate, fatigue, headaches, stomach issues. Like there is a connection between the worry and anxiety in your brain and how rumbly your tumbly gets. When you worry, you tend to be more irritable, your muscles are more sore, your concentration is worse, and your immune system is suppressed, so you actually get sick more often. This worry exponentially increases the fight or flight responses in your lizard brain so that you can't even make good choices, which is kind of the whole point. You're trying to worry about things in the first place. So why would we get caught up in worry? Jesus is trying to rescue us from this short-sighted, damaging way of thinking and viewing the world. And our worry isn't just affecting all those things, it's affecting us spiritually too. Because our worry is telling God, I don't trust you with this. Not saying we don't work for things or have to think critically about things. I'm not saying that there aren't some things in life that just are terrible. But the issue is, we can worry about it, or we can pray about it. We can worry about it and try to manipulate things in our own mind and with our own hands and with our own energy to try and get this thing fixed and not even know if it'll work. Or we can take all of that same kind of energy and we can give it to God, believing that He can provide. Believing that if we seek after Him, all of the rest of the things, the essential things and the crucial things, the simple things and the big things, He will help us deal with. Pagans, for Jesus and really typically for us, is really a way of saying all these people that are far away from God. All of these people who are choosing to live without Him. These people chase after these things. They chase after the things that are basic for survival. They chase after these crucial needs because they know if they don't provide for themselves, no one will. If they don't provide for their family, no one else is going to. If they don't try and protect themselves, there's no one else who's going to protect them. There's no one else who advance their agenda but them. And so they seek after these things. They worry to try and strategize what to do next, and they rack their brains, and they harm themselves, and they don't even get the needs met. And don't even get us started on what life is like when you fail to get the needs met. When the shame starts to come in. Maybe we believe God can provide, but we think He just can't provide for me. Like He's watching and He's waiting for us to mess up the kids that He's trusted us with, or the marriage that we've entered into, or the life we've been gifted. And we think that every failure, every letdown, every mistake is another opportunity for God to look at us and say, why should I provide for that one? Did you see what they just did, what they already had? I think sometimes the reason we worry is that we don't trust how highly God actually values us. You see, we like things to be fair. The whole grasshopper and the ant fable. The ants, they sowed, they reaped, they stored, and they were to make the winter. And the grasshopper just flitted away and then had to knock on the door in the winter and hope that they would rescue him, because that would be fair, right? He didn't work for any of that stuff. They did. They worried. They were industrious. They took care of everything. And it would be fair for them to keep it for themselves and keep the grasshopper up. But Jesus says, look at the birds of the air, okay? They don't sow. They don't reap. All they do is sing, eat bugs, find some seeds on the ground. You see the bugs and the seeds? You see, they're not doing anything for those things, and yet God still feeds them. And if God is willing to take care of them, who you can buy for pennies on the dollar, how much more will he do for you? How much more valuable are you to him? You see, Jesus values us, period. He values us in spite of our work or lack of it, whether we have achievements or not. Every collapse we've had, every time we've worried, he still values us. He still loves us. And this is a freeing thought. I hope it is. There was an ordinand we saw this past year or two. And they came in and they were on edge and they were filled with worry because they were worried about this interview. They were worried if this thing didn't go well. They were letting God down. They were letting their family down. And could they really do this pastoring thing? And for that whole year leading up to that, any struggle they had, in their mind they were saying, this is disqualifying me. I am not valuable enough to do this. And even after the meeting, you can tell when you're in that state, things don't go well, lizard brain, trying to answer hard questions. We made some arrangements for them to go and meet with a friend for coffee. And we said, we're going to try this again later. And at that meeting, the friend said something to this ordinary candidate that, hey, they hadn't heard before. At least they hadn't owned it for themselves if they had heard it. The friend said, look, it doesn't matter if you failed before or not. It doesn't matter if you succeeded before or not. You will never do anything to make God love you more. And you will never do anything to make God love you less. And in that moment, something clicked. It was like they were a little different person. They were lighter, they were joyful, and they took hold of John 3:16. For God so loved the world, for God so loved them, that he gave his one and only Son, that if they believed in him, they should not perish but have everlasting life. That is how much God valued them. That is how much God values you. That Jesus is willing to give himself before you could have done anything, good or bad, that you might have everlasting life. When you're a pagan and you're far from God and you don't grasp that, you can try to provide for yourself and try to protect yourself. But you don't get that God values you. You think it's all about what you provide, what you bring to the table. And Jesus says, look, flowers are gorgeous and they're not doing anything. The Met Gala has nothing on them. All they do is what their Creator intended them to do. All they can be is what their Creator intended them to be. And he gives them all they need if they'll just do that. Hear me. If we would just be who Christ intends us to be, if we will just do what he's asked us to do, he will give us everything we need. We'll be provided for better than the birds of the air. We will be more beautiful with our lives than the flowers in the field, because he values us and loves us so much more than that. In spite of every error you have ever had, he loves you. So why are you worried? Instead, take all that energy and seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. The needs that you have that are both basic and crucial, he will provide for. So seek him instead. You'll find what you need. If you desire Christ, if you center your life on him over and over again, you will realize that He is faithful. Worry makes our minds busy, but faithfully seeking Him will quiet our lives, where we will be still and know that He is God, making room to hear His voice. And He might just say, I love you. I value you. I've got this under control. John Wesley has an analogy for this. He says, for a lot of us, our worry is the cane that we choose to put our weight on to help us get through life and try and move forward. The problem is worry is a broken cane. And it promises to hold us up, but as soon as we rest our weight on it, it will collapse and we will fall with it. But there is another one that you can grab onto. One that you can throw all of your weight, all of your cares, all of your anxiety on, and it will hold. It is the cane of how much He loves you. So instead of seeking to control your life through worry, just seek Him with your life. I love how Paul mentions this in the Message version of Romans. So here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary, your sleeping, eating, going to work, walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God, and you'll be changed from the inside out. Heavenly Father, help us today to trust You with everything that we're going with our life, with our protection, with our bodies, with our basic needs and our crucial ones. Knowing that if we just seek after You, because You love us so much, because You value us enough to even give Your life for us, that You will see us through. That the promise is that with You we have life that is abundant and flourishing and everlasting. And we don't need to worry about those other things because You will help us handle it. Lord, may we find that You are the one that we can throw all of the weight of our worry and our anxieties, our very life on, and You will hold us up.